Good morning. Welcome to Ramblings with Joe. So, there was a No Kings rally this weekend. My initial investigation into the rally showed that there was 7,500,000. Then I saw estimates of around 650,000. Who knows? Who knows? It looked like there was a bunch of people who were upset. I would like to point out that contrasting that, the amount of people in America, over 300 million, well, I mean, for them to get a significant amount of people, that would have been incredible. But in all actuality, this was a very small amount of people, a very small percentage of people compared to the American population. It's a bit biased on my part because I think that it's kind of a tantrum the left is throwing. The ability to accept that you lost an election is paramount to the idea of democracy. So if you lose an election and you're very upset about it, you throw a rally. I understand that Donald Trump is doing some things that go against what you as a party want, and perhaps you as an individual. But that's being handled by the courts if it's not legal. Donald Trump is not going around the court system and overriding the justices' decisions. All I can see is a bunch of discontent people who aren't happy they won an election and aren't happy they're getting their way. That's kind of what I see. Kind of on that same front, the Democrats are still keeping the government closed. That's a fact. They're not getting away with the spin that they've gotten away with before. I was really stunned when the first time that I did some research into what the polls were saying about the Democrats and whether they were being blamed or not for the government shutdown. Because originally the polls were like 60% of Americans think that the Democrats have more culpability than the Republicans. That really kind of set me off a little bit because I was like, how can that be? How does that make any sense? It would seem very obvious to me that the Democrats were holding the government employees hostage by not allowing them to come to the workplace because they were not voting to keep the government open. They literally voted as a majority to keep the government closed. The Republicans are voting for the continuing resolution to open the government. I know this is starting to sound like a record on skip, but that's the truth of it. Well, about a week into it, the polls started to shift a little bit, and they said that it was about 50-50. And I was still a little bit suspect about, I was still a little bit suspicious about that. Those numbers seem suspect to me because of how blatant this vote is. And the Republicans, of course, have had many votes now to reopen the government with a continuing resolution, with spending at the level of the Biden administration. And the Democrats keep voting no. They want to keep the government shut until Obamacare is refunded. Of course, the Democrats are the ones that had it expire in December. They're the ones that set that up. And now the pendulum has swung hard the other way. And I think that these polls may be more accurate. I'm really disappointed when the pollsters don't put the actual questions that they ask, because I think that you can spin a poll by wording the questions a very specific way. At any rate, now it's 60% of the American people believe that the Democrats are holding back opening the government. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just simple fact. The Democrats want the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, to continue to be funded. It expires in December, and the Democrats are not allowing the government to reopen until the Republicans come to the table and discuss it. That's what they're saying. What they're really saying is, unless you fund the the Affordable Care Act, they're not going to let the government reopen, because it's obvious that they don't have the votes to get that program funded. So, again, the left is throwing a tantrum. My wife says I'm giving Eubora free advertising on my podcast. And this may indeed be true. So if either one of you would like to join me for a cup of Eubora, let me know. This is some pitiful advertising with two listeners. Those things hit me pretty hard. I went on a fairly deep search yesterday because I was just really curious as to why this march or demonstration, whatever you want to call it, the No Kings March, was happening. I was trying to wrap my mind around their point of view. There are some things that Donald Trump are doing that the world doesn't like. There are some things that Donald Trump is doing that the left doesn't like. However, I will say this. The problem with criticizing Donald Trump for his policy of deporting illegal immigrants is that you're the ones who caused it on the left. The Democrats allowed all of those immigrants to cross the border illegally. The majority of the illegal immigrants are just here for a better life. And I get that. The problem is that the majority of the immigrants are going to be detrimental to the life that we've built, that our forefathers have built, that our grandparents and parents have built for us. And they did not come in legally. This is really just, it's that simple. The Democrats opened the borders, and now the current administration is trying to deal with a problem that, once again, the Democrats created. So we got the Democrats throwing a tantrum because they didn't win the election, and Donald Trump is, well, he's Donald Trump. He's bombastic, and he keeps pushing the limits of the power of his office. And I see that he does that. However, I understand that the court system will solve this. I have faith in the system. So you have the tantrum of the No Kings March, and then you have the problem that they created, that the left created with the immigrants, the illegal immigrants, and they don't want it uncreated because they want those immigrants to be counted during the census, so they're throwing a tantrum about that as well. And I'm sure that right now what we have is the Democrats saying that they're not going to come to the table, but now that the pendulum has swung and it has gone hard to the right, that 60% of the Americans believe that the Democrats are responsible for the shutdown, there will be another tantrum about that situation. Schumer and his cronies are holding the federal government hostage until they get their way. It's that simple. And so, as far as I'm concerned, over this weekend, having a little bit of time to think about this, they are pretty much just losing on all fronts. And as I've said before, I'm okay with that. Let the Democratic Party fall apart now and the Republican Party fall apart later. Just as long as they fall apart so we can get our freedom and liberty back. It is a very difficult thing to look at oneself and say, am I doing the right thing? Am I supporting the right people? Am I moving in the right direction? We all have to look inside of ourselves and do that, whether it's on the political front or on the personal front or on the spiritual front. And I fall for that constantly. It's something that it is something that I don't do enough, and I need to do more. This weekend, there was someone who needed some help. And I really didn't want to go do it because I haven't had a real kind of veg out day in a while. And the wife called me on it. And she said, okay, look, this is the right thing to do. I'm going to help you. She didn't end up helping me. My brother ended up helping me. And that was a blessing also because I got to spend time with my brother. But she pointed out that I was being kind of selfish. And I was. So I had to let go of that desire to have a sedentary recharge day. And once I did that, it kind of it wasn't her that kicked me in the butt, but that change in attitude kind of kicked me in the butt and gave me a little bit motivation. So got some projects I need to move forward on, and I'm going to start moving forward on them. I'm also really tightening up on my diet, and that's giving me a little bit more energy. But her ability to call me out on my shortcomings, that's part of being in a relationship. And I really appreciate that. And she'll see this, so she already knows that. But it's important that we do that occasionally. We look in on ourselves and we say, wait a minute, am I just being a lazy louse and I don't want to go do this because it's harder than not doing it? And that's where I was. And I'm glad I did it. My brother was glad he did it. And it made us feel good when we were done. This is normally something that we would, that he would, not me, that he would charge in his business. He owns a business. And we did this for free because it was a family in need. And when we walked away, we felt better. And the family felt better. We didn't make it awkward. It's someone who is leaving and going to be away from our neighborhood and away from this area. So there was no gain for us. There's nothing in it for us other than the satisfaction of knowing that we did the right thing. And this is an important part of life, doing the right thing. And I need to strive to do the right thing more often, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it means that I'm ostracized by some people, even if it means I lose. But this is something I need to get more focused on, and I think we all need to focus more on, because when we focus on doing the right thing, that also includes doing the right things for others on every level. Political, spiritual, personal, all those levels. When you do the right thing, it affects everybody around you. So I need to do the right thing. I hope you go out and do the right thing today. I hope you have a great day. It's Monday. Marvelous Monday. I do. I hope you guys have a marvelous Monday. I hope that you enjoy the week. We've been blessed enough to be given another day. Let's go out and make the best of it. I'm going to give it a shot. I hope you give it a shot too. And I hope you find peace, love, and dream. Until next time, lahit traut.